Hi everybody, it's Alyce-Kay from Threshold of Hineni, and we are ready to bind our journal. Okay, this is the part that a lot of people dread. I think it's really fun, and I think that once you understand how it's done, you'll be able to do it easily and you won't be afraid of it. Okay, so I'm going to set the journal aside for a moment while I show you everything that I have here for binding it. And actually I'm going to set this aside for a little bit too, because we'll do that in a different video if we decide to use it. I'm kind of thinking it might be a fun tassel, but I also think it might be a bit too much. So we'll see. We'll play with it later. Okay, so here's what you need for binding. You need something to push the awl into. This is your awl, okay? You need, a lot of people use a paperback book or a hardback book that they've torn the cover off of to use for another journal, just into the paper. My late husband got me a piece that was left over from the siding of our house, and that's really perfect for me. It's got a nice little cradle here, so that's what I use, and it also is just like a memory for me too. Okay, then another thing that you need is you need a needle with a big eye in it. Okay, so I think that's like a crewel embroidery needle, but I'm not sure. And it's just got black on it because it rested a little bit, so that's okay. And then you need something for binding. I like this leather, I don't know what you call it, leather stripping stuff. I use that for a lot of things, or I use twine. Not this yarn, but twine. So I'm not sure which one we're going to use. We're going to look at it and see which color we like. Both of these hold really, really well, and they're also very easy to use. Okay, you need an awl. And I'll put links for all these things. All these things, hello? An awl, A-W-L. You need an awl for making the holes for the binding. All right, and then you also need binder clips. I only have 3 for some reason. I think I used one someplace else, so I only have 3, but 4 is a lot better. And you want the large size. These are 2-inch, and again, I'll put a link, but you know, you can find these at office supply stores. You can find small ones at the Dollar Tree, but the small ones really don't work well for what we're doing. All right, so I can put away my pin cushion because I've got my needle out here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to cut my binding cord, either the twine or the leather, to the right size. So first I want to look and see what color do I want. This is a really nice color for this, but I think it draws too much attention to the binding. So I don't think we're going to use the leather. We're going to use the twine instead because it kind of blends in. And we've got so much going on here that I don't want to draw the reader's eye away from that. Okay, so let's go ahead and where's the end of this? Here it is. Okay, so what we want is 4 times the height of the book. All right, so I'm going to take this up to the cover. I'm going to measure once, and I usually go a little bit beyond that. I'm going to end up cutting some off, but it helps to have extra to work with. 2, 3, and 4. I think most people say 3, but I'm going to have danglies, and I also just, I don't know, my fingers aren't as good at the fine motor skill stuff now, and so as I've gotten older, so I just need a little bit extra to work with, and I'll be cutting some off. But then what I cut off is really good to use in my Franken paper. I'm going to move this out of the way for now until I'm ready for it, just to clear off some space on the desk here. Okay, then what I want to do before I even start, well, let's thread this so we don't lose the needle. Let's go ahead and thread our needle. You just want to thread it a little bit. You know, you don't want to make it like, you know, halfway through or anything. Just thread it a little bit. Okay, and set that aside. And I'm also going to get these binder clips out so that the box isn't in the way, and set the awl aside. Okay, so now before we bind it, what we need to do is we need to go through and make sure that the pages are set up the way that we want. We want to make sure everything is right side up. We want to make sure that anything that could get caught in the binding that can be moved out of the way, like a fabric flip, we've moved that out of the way. And we want to also, because we have different size pages, we want to put some up towards the top, some down towards the bottom, and so on. I don't like to have them go all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top, but just like a fraction of an inch from the bottom or top. Okay, so this starts with, I'm going to have this one, the very first and last page, I'm going to have that so that it's even in there. Okay, then this is a large page, so that one can also be even. This I think I'm going to clip out of the way. That's not really in the way, but it just will be easier if it's out of the way. Once you do this, you'll understand what I'm saying about getting some of those things out of the way. Okay, this one has some of this fringe, so I want to have it down towards the bottom. I don't want to have all of them down at the bottom, because if I have all the pages down at the bottom, then it's going to be really bulky at the bottom. This one also has some of the fringe, so let's also put that down towards the bottom so that the fringe sticks out the bottom of the book. Okay, you can hear the church chimes. Got a church across the street from me. Okay, this one, the fringe hangs down pretty far, so we don't have to have that one centered. We can move this one up a little bit. And see, it looks neat when they're all kind of staggered. Okay, this one has some fringe, but it hangs down pretty well, so it doesn't have to be all the way down to the bottom, but we're going to move it towards the bottom. So we're looking for one that doesn't have fringe. This one doesn't have fringe. Let's move it up to the top. Okay, see, in that way too, you can see this under it, which is really cool. I think that's very pretty. These ones here, that's a large page, so we're pretty much going to center that. Got a small page here. Now here's our fabric flip, so we're going to flip this out because we don't want any of this to get caught in the binding. It's pretty far from the binding, so I don't really have to worry about it, but sometimes between gravity and just scrunching it, it might move up there. Okay, and then here's our center fold. So I'm going to fold this out. Okay, let's make sure that we've got this right side up. Here's our pocket, right? Yeah, there's our pocket. Okay, so let's fold this out so that it doesn't get stuck in there. And is there... No, there's not a fold out on the other side. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so we've got this all the way that we want it. So from this point on, we're going to have to be really, really careful. Now, when we put the binder clips on, we've got to have the pages pushed up into the spine as much as we can. All right, and let's do this side first because we've got that hanging out. I usually do the binder clips at the top and bottom, but since I only have 3, I'm going to go ahead and do this over on this side here. Okay, now we want to close it before we put on the other binder clips because we want to make sure, because when we pull it out, it'll pull the pages away from the spine. We want to have this pushed up to the spine so that it's bound the way that it will be when it's closed. Okay, now if you need to slow down and not do it quite as fast as I am, feel free to pause the video or even slow it down. Remember, I told you how you can slow it down in a previous video. I should make a video showing how to do that. You know, when I listen to things on YouTube, not so much craft things, I usually do those at the speed that they're at, but like sermons and stuff like that or other talks, I will slow it down. I mean, I will speed it up quite a bit. And that way I can listen to more things. All right, so we've got this all clipped together so that everything's held in place. Nothing's going to scooch around. Okay, so now it's time to put the needle aside, the needle with our binding stuff. And this I have to stand up for. Hopefully I'm not going to get in the way, or hopefully you're not going to see my big fat stomach. Okay. But if you do, it's real life. Okay, so I like to do 3, and even though this is small, I'm still going to do 3. I would do 3 minimum. If I was doing a really big one, I might do 5. I want to go for approximately the center. I don't bother to measure it, but I'm sticking the sharp point of the awl down inside. I'm going to close this as much as I can while I push really, really hard into the wood, or if you're using a book, into the paper of the book. All right, so hopefully you're getting all the way through to the paper, okay, or the wood in my case. All right, then I'm going to push it through. See that coming out there? Okay, I want to push it all the way, not all the way through. I'm going to push it a good ways through. You want to be really careful, you guys, that you don't get your hand or your finger in the way, because this will suddenly push through and you could stab yourself right through. Okay, so I'm going to, there's a textured part of this. I don't know if you can see that. See that textured part of the awl? I'm going to that because that's going to make it plenty wide for the needle to get through. And then I pull it out. See, I've got a nice big hole there. You're not going to see that hole after it's bound. Okay, then I'm going to turn this way. That's just easier for me. Okay, and I have to have it closed when I'm pushing the awl through, so I'm sorry that you can't quite see that. Now I'm going to go halfway between this hole here and the top of the page. And again, I'm not measuring it, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, halfway through, I close it, and I'm going to push down as hard as I can. And then again, I'm going to push it through, being really careful that my fingers are not close to where it's going in. Then I can open this up a little bit so I can get my hand in there. That one went through a lot easier, but there's not as much up at the top of the pages as there is at the bottom. Sometimes you have to really work it through. Okay, the bottom I suspect is going to be a lot harder. Again, halfway between the bottom and that middle hole, I'm going to push through. I'm actually surprised. I thought it would be, now I've got my hands on either side. It's going to come through here. I don't want to stab myself, so I've got my fingers on either side. I really thought it would be a lot harder because of all the layers of paper and the Mod Podge, but it's not bad. It's a little harder than if I'm just using paper, but I often use fabric too. Okay, now I'm going to still leave this clipped up. I can put my awl away, and I can put my wood or book or whatever you're using all away. Now you can figure out now why I had that wood there, right? Because I don't want it to go through my desk or anything else, and it needs something that has a little bit of give. Okay, so now we're going to take our needle and our binding material. Okay, I don't recommend yarn. I have had some yarn that works well. I've had other yarn that just falls apart, so I don't really recommend it. Probably wool is better than like cotton yarn. Okay, so we're going to bring it through the middle. We're starting from the inside. We're going to bring it through that middle hole, and we're going to go just long enough so that we still have plenty of dangle here. Now my dangles are not going to come down that far, but I'm going to have to tie knots and other things, so I need to have plenty of twine for that. Okay, and then from the outside I'm going to go through that top hole right there. Sometimes it's a lot harder to find that because the paper might slip a little bit and you may have to go through some and then pull it through the rest of the way, but this one went through really easily. Okay, then I'm going to pull it tight. I want this to be pretty tight or else the pages will slip around. Then go back down through the middle hole. Okay, and then pull it tight. Now, you've got to be careful because you don't want to tear anything by pulling it too tight, but at the same time you want all that to be nice and snug. And then I'm going to go in through this last hole here, being really careful not to hit my thumb inside here. I can't see where my hole is. There we go. Okay, this one actually bound very, very easily. I'm starting to think Mod Podge may be the way to go. Okay, so I've pulled this. I'm pulling the twine on both ends so that it's nice and tight. I don't want to pull it too tight because that'll tear holes there. Okay, and then I'm going to take this. I'm going to use my needle to go underneath that one to tie a knot. Okay, and then I can use it to tie another knot, so it's a double knot there. Okay, and in case I forget to do this on the video, because sometimes I do, I'm going to, when I'm done, I'm going to put a little dab of glue right there on that knot to keep it from untying. Okay, now I can put away my needle. We're still going to tie a couple more knots though. Okay, put away my needle. Okay, and then I like to put, I think I got this idea from Gayle Agostinelli, I like to put just a little bit of lace or fabric or something in here in the knot. It's just cute. So let's get a little bit here. Just a little bit like this, little piece. I'm going to tie it in there, just right in the middle of the knot. And that'll also give it a couple more ties. So actually where I just showed you that I put the glue, that wasn't right. I'm going to put the glue on after tying this. So it's like it makes a little bow with that lace there. See that? Isn't that cute? Okay, it just kind of finishes it off nicely. So I'm tying this really tight. Now I don't want to put the glue there yet. I want to put it there when I'm completely done and ready to leave the table. So now I can take off my clips very carefully. Very, very carefully. Okay, and then I think we're going to put the beads on in a different video, but right now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and just check to make sure that nothing got caught in the binding that shouldn't be, and put these things like the fabric flips back in place. Okay, so here we go. We've got this. This looks really nice. It's nice and tight. That's very pretty. Sometimes I'll put lace over this, but I like this kind of raggedy look on this right here. Okay, so we've got our front that says "Be fearless, attitude is everything." And here it opens up to our first page and our little thing here that we're going to close. One of our envelopes. That's cute. these little things. See, doesn't that just add something to the page? And you can write on this whole entire page. And then another envelope, and this can flip out. We've got, oh, I went ahead and I inked the edge of this. I just held it up like that and inked it. Okay, but I figured you had seen enough inking, you didn't need to see that one. Here's another one of our envelopes. Page. This is a tuck this way. Okay, and a Rita Donnelly flip. And we're not done because we still want to make some, besides adding our beads to the bottom, we still want to make some things to put inside of this. Okay, and then here's where we've got our fancy little flip out thing. So we've got a pocket here, a tuck there, a pocket here, and then this flips out so that you can write on all of this. You can write on all this. You've got a flip here, I mean a pocket in the middle. And then over here we've got this pocket, which actually, let's put some ink on that. It'll just look much more cooler if we've got the ink on it. There we go. Okay, so we've got a long pocket here, right? And then we can write on all this, of course, including writing on the pocket. So that's very cool. That's our centerfold right there. And then we've got a pocket here, and we've got our fabric flip right underneath that. Write something secret under there. Another envelope. Oh yeah, okay. An envelope, another Rita Donnelly flip. Good, and see, this didn't get caught up in the binding, so that's great. We've got a belly band here. That's really pretty. Another envelope. And we've got our fringe stuff here. Another big pocket. An envelope. Another fringe thingy. This tuck. And another envelope. Isn't that cute? I think we've done a great job on that so far. Okay, so, and I think I'll probably use some of the sari silk to tie it shut, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Okay, so in our next video, we'll put the beads on here, okay? And I think we'll also make our little dangles for this side because the beads won't take very long. All right, I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.